So I just want to thank everyone for coming today, again, on behalf of my sister and our dad. And for those of you who don't know me, Jennifer, I am the short one with the tall name, and my sister Jill is the tall one with the short name. And I am going to start, as one does in these situations, with a joke. And I want to assure you that it's okay to laugh, because my mother would laugh at this and find it funny, and she did keep her sense of humor until the very end.
But it's a joke from Jerry Seinfeld, who said that people's number one fear is public speaking. And number two is death. That means that if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. And earlier in my mom's life, that is actually how she would have felt. She grew up shy and insecure, but later in life, she spoke in front of rooms full of people, including here at Maravilla, about her life. In fact, my mom overcame quite a lot in her life. I don't know how many of you know this. She didn't have it easy growing up. She didn't really talk a lot about how hard it was growing up, but we knew it was very hard. She was shy, and they lived in the projects in Los Angeles. Her parents divorced when she was about 2 years old, and later she had a stepfather but that marriage didn't last either. Her mom, Irene, was diagnosed with breast cancer when she was really young. And when Irene couldn't take care of them, she and her sister Shirley went to live in separate foster homes. Our mom even questioned her parentage, growing up as a young girl with green eyes and blonde hair in a family full of dark-eyed, dark-skinned, dark-haired Jewish Ukrainian immigrants, and they told her that she was the milkman's daughter. So she spent many mornings trying to get a glimpse of her dad delivering the milk. When her mom died at 16, she went to live with her sister Shirley rather than living with her estranged father. And at a time now when it's more common to talk about trauma and trigger words and mental health and psychological safety, our mom white-knuckled it through life like many of her generation and didn't talk about a lot of this stuff. It was just a couple years after her mother died that fate would intervene and put young Barbara Martin seated next to young Brent Muchow in English class at Compton High School, where Barbara would let Brent copy from her. Now, Mom was the consummate rule follower, so letting Brent cheat off of her meant it must have been true love, because I don't think she cheated before or since. Straight out of Compton, our parents got married young at just 19 and 20, and there's some photos outside for you to take a look. And they were smart enough to wait a little bit of time before having kids, 7 years before they had my sister and another 2 before they had me. My mom was coming of age at a time when women, generally speaking, had few options for a career. You could be a nurse, or a teacher, or a secretary, and they were called secretaries back then. And as smart as my mother was, and she was really highly intelligent, with an upbringing like that, I imagine it was hard to conceive of something else. And so after going to junior college, she worked as a secretary to support our dad and her while my dad finished college and then got his master's in engineering. Did I do that grammar right? No. You won't tell us. Was I off? Sorry, Mom. Early in their marriage, she went on a hunting trip with Brent. Just the one. To be clear, it wasn't the hunting itself that she didn't like, it was the temperature. But even though she was not a fan, she didn't want to deprive our dad of the joy he got from hunting and fishing. And she always encouraged Pop, as we call him, to pursue his passion of hunting and fishing. And our mom was delighted that he took me and Jill hunting and fishing with him on a regular basis. I'd like to pause to point out the fact that I did use the right grammar from the last sentence. Our dad took Jill and me hunting. And if you ever made that mistake around our mother, she would let you know. And her Twitter handle was, after all, Grammar Grandma. So when my sister was born, and 2 years later after I was born, our mom's job was raising the 2 of us. Our mom didn't know how to swim, so we had swimming lessons starting at age 5. She didn't speak a second language, so we went just as early into Spanish lessons. We took ballet, gymnastics, piano, horseback riding, softball. Jill took sewing. I flunked sewing. I took calligraphy instead. I have many childhood memories of being driven from one lesson to another. She would even tell her father to keep the volume of his rock and roll music down so we could practice our piano in the evenings and the weekend.
Her voice saying, "Break."
Stereo will forever live in my mind. She was also a Girl Scout leader and a liaison with the Girl Scout Council for our troop, and she made sure that we could do all the things that she was not able to do when she was growing up. After Jill and I went off to college, she continued her passion for caregiving by volunteering for the Tot Line, which is a helpline for parents to advise them through the more frustrating aspects of child rearing. And together with our dad, when we were growing up, she was a founding member of the Traveling Stomachs. This was a close-knit group of friends who loved trying new restaurants. She had, to the very end, a great sense of humor, something that our dad and our mom shared. And when my sister and I would go with the Traveling Stomachs once in a while to restaurants, we were known as the Traveling Intestines, large and small. She was an avid knitter, a skilled craft maker, a talented writer, and she even took up painting and later in life. And as we all know, her many Christmas trees were small works of art with an inspiring attention to detail. When Jill and I got married and had families of our own, she became a part-time grandmother and part-time crafter. In fact, she told our dad that she was moving to Santa Barbara to be closer to Jill before her first granddaughter, Jenna, was born. And she said to our dad, "You can come if you want to." Our mom was extremely proud of her grandkids, Jenna, Kate, and Dante. I encourage you all, they're standing over there. She said that being a grandparent was one of the very few things in life that exceeded your expectations. She bragged to me many, many times about the intelligence, charm, accomplishments, talents, and good looks all three of her grandchildren had. In fact, I cannot think of a conversation in the past few years that we had that she did not brag about, the three of you. Starting in 2019, our parents moved here to Moravia. We were all convinced that living here extended her life by years. She found community here with the knitting and movie watching. In fact, her job was to operate the projector in this room for movie night. It was one of the few times she wouldn't talk to me on the phone if I called her and the movie was playing. "Can't talk to you now." I spoke with some of her friends here at Moravia the weeks that she died, and I was comforted by the depth of their feelings for her mom. We had the privilege of being with Mom in her last few days. We got to say all the things that we wanted to tell her. She got to hear from the grandkids. And in one of the most beautiful settings that you can imagine, Serenity House in Santa Barbara, overlooking all of Santa Barbara. She was sharp mentally until the end. She laughed at jokes. She knew where she was and why she was there, and she was ready. I also had the opportunity to talk with her about her life. We shared pictures with her. We talked about memories. We told her we loved her. And we were able to get her final wishes, which included her desire to host this memorial service, celebration of life, wake, shiva, party. We couldn't decide on what to call it. And for us to specifically, quote, say something nice about her. We even got a list of songs that were her favorites, which you may have heard before we started. And I regret to inform you that perhaps you're delighted to hear this, that none of us will have to hear that music again, because unfortunately, there's nothing nice that we can say about her taste in music. My mom was before her time in many ways. Like many boomers, she was a pioneer of women's rights and equal rights more broadly. And even though she was in a mixed marriage, meaning she was a liberal Democrat and Dad is an independent, they somehow made the marriage work. And Jill and I were brought up as progressives who went hunting. I found myself quoting my mother many, many times over the years. She had the kind of homespun sayings that were anachronistic, but actually really deep in meaning, and I think they deserve to be revitalized. And over the years, my friends and people who work for me have heard me say many times, as my mother always said. And I would repeat the appropriate pithy words of wisdom I remember from growing up. So before I finish this eulogy for my mother, I'd like to impart the top 10 sayings that Barbara Muchow has repeated over the years. Coming in at number 10, You catch more flies than you do with honey than you do with vinegar. Now, when she said this to me when I was little, I would often wonder who wanted to catch flies in the first place. And once I even set out shallow bowls of honey and vinegar to see what would happen, the results were inconclusive. But the point she meant was just be nice. She always knew that being nice is better than being mean. Coming in at number 9 is don't throw bad money after good. Now, this may seem like a sound piece of financial wisdom, which it is, but the broader point is that when you screw up, don't keep digging a hole deeper for yourself. Thank you for that lesson, Mom. And number 8, we have don't lick a gift horse in the mouth. Growing up, this was confusing to me. I had no idea what she was talking about. And then when we were in middle school, our parents got a horse for us. A really old horse, as a matter of fact. And that was also another thing that our mother would drive us to. And I found out at that point that you could tell an age of a horse when you look at inside of its mouth at its teeth. And I realized that that saying meant that if you're given a gift, don't question its worth. Be gracious, not entitled or rude. It was about manners. Number 7, don't rob Peter to pay Paul. This was also confusing to me because I didn't know Peter or Paul. But I'm pretty sure the saying prevented me from buying into some sort of Ponzi scheme, and at the very least, probably made us think more thoughtfully about the trade-offs in life. Coming in at number 6 is the sage wisdom of you always have a little bit of pee in you. Dante, how many times have you heard me say this? This advice would emerge most often before leaving the house to go on a road trip, but in a broader sense, I am convinced that this is what helped instill in both of us a habit of planning ahead. Number 5 is charity begins in the home. By this, she did not mean that you should not give back to your community. Yes, you should, of course, and she did. She meant that the people you should be the nicest to are the ones you love. If you aren't, then all of that giving back is just for show. Number 4 is separate the wheat from the chaff. This little bit of advice has come in handy on many occasions, including true friends who show up for you when you lose your mom. They are the wheat. Treasure those people. Thank you all for being here. Coming at number 3 is no good deed goes unpunished. I used to think this was kind of sad and that the meaning was pointless to do good things, but what she really meant was that the most important thing, the thing that really matters, is to do the good thing in the first place. Number 2 is moderation in all things, including moderation. I love that saying, and she really did live it. Growing up, we couldn't have cereal with sugar in the first 4 ingredients. So the most sugary cereal that we could have was Cheerios. She made us homemade, sugar-free fruit roll-ups. She made the best sandwiches on dense wheat bread with bean sprouts and vegetables. She even made them for my high school friend, Emily. And when Halloween came around, we could pick out on all the candy we wanted that night. It made for a great motto in life, and it's a philosophy that I've adopted as my own life's motto. And coming in at number 1 is the most poignant and something I've repeated many times over the years. On your deathbed, you never say, you wish you spent more time at work. And so when Mom was at Serenity House, literally on her deathbed, it was an opportunity I couldn't resist. So I said, Mom, is it true? Do you wish you spent more time at work? And she laughed because she really did keep her sense of humor at the end. And she said, it would be true, but my job was raising you and Jill. And so all the time was worth it. But when I asked my mom what the one thing was that she was the most proud of in her life, it wasn't us, her kids. Sorry, guys, it wasn't you, her grandkids. She said it was marrying our father and finding the best partner in life. And when I told her that Dad could say the same thing about her, she pointed her finger at me and she said, you're right. I will end with the saying that I'm sure all of us in this room have heard from my mother, which is, one more thing. My one more thing is that years ago, when I asked my mom about how sad she must have been when her mom died, she said it wasn't because it was a relief. She wasn't suffering anymore. And now I know what she means. Congestive heart failure is no picnic. My mom had 11% heart function when she died. And when we were sitting there with her waiting for her to die. So at which point my dad said the only reason she was left with 11% heart function is because she had given her heart to everyone else and didn't leave anything for herself. So Mom, I hope you think those are some nice things to say about you.
I'm Dante. I am Barbara's only grandson, best grandson. She was a great grandma, and we all really miss her. And I think one of my favorite memories of her was we would always have Thanksgiving up at my house in Santa Cruz, my parents' place in Santa Cruz. And it would be the whole family together, all of us, and I have a lot of really fond memories of her. We'd all sit at the counter and have conversations and talk, and she would tell stories about Pop, and just those all live in my memory very well, so those Thanksgivings.
I'm Gail Muchow Good, brother to Brent, Barbara's husband. And my favorite memory of Barbara is hands down Christmas Eve. We always had a Christmas Eve talent show for the kids. And Barbara would always participate in that talent show in the form of reading one of her own pieces of poetry or reading some historical letter. She had the best gift ideas of anyone. And even when we developed a policy of no gifts, Barbara would still bring gifts. Love you, Barbara, and gonna miss you.
I'm Jenna. I'm the eldest granddaughter, and one of my favorite memories of my grandma was going to Idaho all together with Pop, and the three of us driving all the way from Santa Barbara to the ranch, to the farmhouse. And when we were there, we got to pick a bunch of cherries from the cherry tree, make a cherry pie together. We cooked a lot. We watched a lot of Jeopardy, and I think just being in the car and hanging out and spending all that time up there was really special to me. So that's one of my favorite memories of Grandma, and I will always think about cherry pie and cherry pie filling when I think of Grandma. So love you, Grandma, love you, Pop, and we miss you.
Every man should be so lucky as to have a woman like Barbara in his life. She supported Brent's beer habit for more than 60 years.
Love it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caitlin, otherwise known as Kate. I am one of Barbara's granddaughters, and the memory I'm going to share is Grandma taught me how to knit, and we used to spend many afternoons knitting together. And I specifically remember going to a Girl Scout meeting where we were going to do a knitting badge, and I had no worries because my grandma already taught me how to knit, and I remember feeling super proud and super special because my grandma had already taught me how to knit.
I have many, many memories growing up in the car, driving from one lesson to another. And one of the things I loved is that Mom, being a very practical person, even though she was very, very healthy with us 99% of the time, if we needed to make it to a lesson, we got Carl's Jr. Or, in fact, actually, not Taco Bell, but
Del Taco.
Del Taco.
Because they have fries and tacos.
They have fries and tacos. Or sometimes, actually, Wendy's.
Yeah.
And we would get the
Wendy's,
shakes and put the
Frosties.
we dip the fries in the shakes.
Yes.
And just, yeah, Mom, thanks for all the stuff that I know, because if it weren't for all those lessons, I wouldn't know a third of the things that I know.
SOCKS.
SOCKS.
And another food memory, though, but we would always travel to Idaho on summer break and at Thanksgiving, and again, not allowed to have sugar cereals or anything like that. But she would make a Ziploc bag of apples and oranges cut up, because the oranges then had the citric acid to keep the apples from turning brown.
Yes, another pro tip.
Also a big bag of licorice, black and red licorice. And then we would sit in the cab on the top above in the pickup truck of the camper, and we would drive to Idaho for 16 hours and sometimes drive through McDonald's and get French fries. That was a real treat.
In Las Vegas, when we would drive through at night, you could see the glow of Las Vegas in the distance at night.
Yeah, we did stay at Circus the one time.
Las Vegas. That was the only time we went to McDonald's was in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah. Good memories.
Love you, Mom.
I'm Jeff, Barbara's nephew, one of many of Barbara's nephews. And one of my favorite memories was a road trip that we took with Brent and Barbara when I was about 10 years old. And we drove from California to their place in Idaho and spent the week over the summer out there and just had the best time. We went hunting and drove tractors and just, running around the fields in Idaho, and just remember spending that whole car ride to Idaho and back talking with Barbara, and that's a memory that I'll cherish forever.
Hi, I'm Juliana, Jeff's wife. Jeff is Barbara's nephew. One memory that stayed with me is talking with Barbara about parenting when I was a new mom. She shared stories about raising her children and how each of them was different, and I really appreciated her willingness to share her experiences with me, and she gave me some advice too about potty training, which unfortunately didn't end up going as well as I'd like, but I really appreciated her sharing her thoughts as an experienced mom. We're so grateful to be here to celebrate Barbara's life today. Our hearts are with Brent and everyone in the family, and we really, we really hope Barbara's memory is a blessing to all.
We love going to lunch with Brent and Barbara right here when they moved into Marvilla. It's a really good place to come for lunch. And you guys were so fun. Barbara and Brent were so fun to have lunch with.
And probably the thing that I remember the most about Barbara was that I don't ever remember her not smiling. Barbara was always so happy, and when they would come to our home, she was just happy to be there. And her daughters and Brent, as we have all talked about today, and her grandchildren were so important to her, and she just loved to tell their stories. So it was really fun for us to have that time with Barbara, even after we had known her years ago in Irvine. It was fun, really fun to have time with her here.
Well, all I have to say is that I like Barbara and Brent. We were good friends, and we were neighbors at one time. We lived on Walnut, and I'm glad that I could make it here to honor her name.
We were able to spend many holidays with Brent and Barbara, but she was so incredibly thoughtful, such a dear person as our family, and I just absolutely loved her. So I'm so thrilled to be able to be here today and celebrate her life and frankly spend another time with Brent.
Hi, I'm Dean Muchow, Brent's brother, Barbara's brother-in-law, and I've known Barbara since I was 6 years old, and two things really stand out there. One, she was a spirited conversationalist. We had a lot of rather excited debates, but she never held a grudge and was always loving and a happy camper. The other was she was very generous, and to this day I still have stocking caps and scarves, a few other things that she knitted and gave me, in some cases 50 years ago. So that was her big heart, and she would discuss anything under the sun.
Hi, I'm Emily. Jen and I have been besties since 7th grade. And one of my favorite memories of Barbara was how every day when she would make lunch for Jen, she would also make lunch for me. Somehow my mom had determined that I needed to be independent and self-sufficient, and Barbara helped me to do that by making me sandwiches every day. And gonna miss her lots.
My name's Linda Perlin, and Barbara was a friend of mine. And I don't know how Marvia is gonna get along with one less Barbara. But the Lindas are inching up on the Barbaras. Anyway, Barbara and I shared a few years together in the art room, and she was a kick. She always had a joke. She always had a positive attitude. She made it a lot of fun, and she was so creative. And I know she was doing things outside of our art room as well. And she was so kind. Always at the holidays, she would bring us like a delicious pear or some treat. And I learned so much from her. And then I started going to the theater to watch movies, and she was keeping copious notes, who was attending. I don't know who she turned them into, but she was always there. She was just a rock for us. And I'll miss you, Barbara. Love to you and your family.
I'm Pat. I've been a member of the Muchow clan since I was 14 years old. I met Barbara around the same time that Brent met her. I think of life as a change of memories. When you're young, you add links to your chain. I added Barbara to my chain when we were teens, dating best friends. We became adults together. Motherhood, grandmothers. Losing Barbara was like losing a big part of my chain. 70 years of life together. So many wonderful memories. The highs and the lows of life. I will miss you, my friend. Best of all, I will always have the memories we share.
Hey, I'm Betty Goldwater, Barbara's neighbor. And every time I was with Barbara, she was always so positive and so kind. And I remember being with her in a meeting once where she made a statement that was correct and no one accepted it, and Barbara would not fight it back. So I fought it back for her. And she thanked me for that, and I realized that there was a shyness that she was not going to intrude or push herself in any way. She was a lovely person. Grew up in East LA, and I was familiar with that. I had a lot of relatives and friends in Boyle Heights, and some even in the projects. So we shared those kind of times, and I miss not seeing her. We live very close to each other. I miss not passing her in the hall almost every time I went somewhere.